Okay, yeah, we're live. We're good to go. All right, Women's Roundnet stream. I'm Alli.
I'm Jordi.
Yeah, that's Jordi. Yeah, and we're gonna be talking about Women's Roundnet for the next hour, maybe more. All right. So to kick off the stream, we are gonna open with some questions that we've already got on Instagram. And if you have any additional questions that you want to ask, we're gonna be keeping an eye on the comments. So feel free to ask, and then we'll be revisiting Q&A later on after we've touched on some other topics. So let's kick it off. Jordi, who's your favorite team to play?
I think I would say winging it. I think we have a ton of rallies, and that's my favorite part about Roundnet. What about you?
Yeah. Genuinely didn't give this any thought before the stream, and I'm trying not to pick the same as you. Winging it does, they do just generate rallies, and like that's what we love, playing the game.
Yeah.
There's always like playing you and Beck or Tori and Olivia, there was always so much like just so much on the line. So that was always exciting as well, but I think I've got to give it to Winging It for the rallies.
Yeah. Gotta go with the rallies.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. You want to ask it?
Yeah. What do you want to see improve the most in women's Roundnet? Tough question.
We're getting there. I really do believe that women's Roundnet this last season improved more than it ever has, and yeah, so I think we're getting there, but I think the focus is probably defense. I think once we start getting cleaner defensive ups, then overall the women's Roundnet game will just be, it'll be, I don't know, so much more, I guess just a higher level all around. Fewer mistakes,
Yeah.
and then equally more rallies because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you?
I agree. I think defense for sure. I think what I want to see grow the most, like, or improve the most, would be consistency. I think a lot of times there's like mental errors or random setting mistakes, and I think it'd be awesome if women's Roundnet got more consistent.
Yeah, I totally agree. How did you start playing Roundnet, and who taught you?
Yeah, so I just started playing with my youth group, and then in college is when I started playing a lot more often, and I got to play with some friends that were in the men's hall on campus, and so I played with them, and then we went to a tournament, and that's where I met Mark Donaldson, and he kind of took me under his wing and introduced me to the crew in Ventura, and that's where it all started.
Legend. Mark is so great.
I know. And you?
I first heard of Roundnet, heard of Spikeball at Creation Festival, Christian Music Festival in Pennsylvania. It was awesome, like the hot spot for high schoolers. So I had just graduated high school. I was with BECCA actually, and Joel Graham. That's where we met him. That's where we learned about Spikeball. It was like the festival was a couple days long. So I think we learned about it day 2 or day 3, and we spent the rest of our time, except for the time we were eating or sleeping, just playing Spikeball. We loved it. Yeah, so full credit to Joel Graham. What'd you say?
That's always what happens in the beginning. Get addicted and you can't stop.
Turn into immediate addicts. The sport is too good.
Yeah. All right, next up.
Yeah.
Top 3 women's players that you would like to see play more.
Whew. This is a big one. I feel like we should have a list of 100 because or 200. The answer is just everyone. But I think number 1 has got to be Ruth Troughton from the UK. She somehow became, honestly, like top 20 in the world probably without a strong women's player in her country. Like, that's pretty tough to do. But honestly, I'd just love to see her play more. So Ruth, I always really liked Joelle from the West Coast. She had like a gymnast background or something like that. and was
Yeah,
just,
and she had
I
all
don't
the Cal
know.
Poly crew too.
Yeah, I just feel like her instincts were great and probably still are great. So give it to Joelle. Number 3. Oh man, Katie Pearson. It has to be Katie Pearson. She's so young, and if she keeps playing, she's gonna come out and kick all of our butts in like 2 years.
Yeah, and if it weren't for the virus,
Irish.
virus, she said she was going to every tournament this season.
Oh my, I believe it.
That's big time.
Yeah. What about your top 3 you'd like to see play more?
That's so hard. I'd say Jackie Yu. She came in, was playing a ton, and then this year she wasn't able to play, or last year she wasn't able to play as much. And that was so fun to play with her, along with TORI, TORI White from Seattle. Actually, she moved to the East Coast now, right?
Yeah, she was in Virginia for a little bit, but I think she might be back in the
Yeah,
West. I'm not sure.
and they played together, so that was awesome. I love
So
seeing
good.
them, and they both kind of slowly came out of it last year, but it seems like maybe they're going to start playing a lot more. So I'd love to see that. And let's see. I think I want to see Mary again. Mary from Canada. Yeah, I want to see her playing a lot more.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So those are my 3.
Nice. Just looking in the comments, see some shout out to Hannah Coyle, who is missing from the highlight video. Honestly, if we could have added, like I said, 200 more girls, I would have loved to, but Hannah Coyle should have been in it. And then Tori's
Legit.
energy is unmatched. Let's just leave it at that.
True.
No one disagrees.
She's everywhere.
It's insane. Okay, so we can move on to our talking points for the stream. So Jordi and I have spent probably way too much time taking stats on the 2019 Roundnet season. We used, let me pull it up. Shameless plug here for the Roundnet stats tracker app. Oh, this is tough. Right there next to TikTok.
Awesome.
Yeah, so Max Modell created that app, and it's just like a simple, easy way to turn your games, your Roundnet games, into statistics in which you can look at and compare between players, that sort of thing. So that's what we use to pull a lot of stats from the 2019 season. So we are going to kind of like briefly talk about the stats. It won't take too long. We don't want to focus on that for the majority of the stream. We have some other really fun things to talk about too. But if you want to, you can follow along with the stats or take a look at them. Andrew Gasaway, I think he's in the comments, and I think he can comment a like shortcut or something that you can type in, and then you go to the document that I'm referencing. But if he doesn't do that, if you can't get there, you can go to bit.ly, so bit.ly/women's roundnet 2019 to see all the data that we're about to talk about. So yeah, let's get into it. Do you have anything you want to say about the data to start? Then we can head into MVP awards.
I think we can talk about kind of how we did it and like the results and things that we think can be improved or that kind of thing after.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. You want to kick it off?
No, you go ahead and start.
Okay. So let's see. So all in all, the RPR data did pull like a top 10, but I think my original intention was to compare that with the SRA community voted top 10 from 2019, but I don't think it fully turned out exactly how we thought it would. The raw data from the RPRs actually doesn't take into account the full gist of Roundnet. So there are some really good things that it does take into account, like serve percentage, aces, how many times you're ace, your put away percentage, lots of stuff like that. But then it leaves out things like mental strength, your level of clutchness, like whether you're going to win in the finals or whether you're only winning in third place games, that sort of thing. So yeah, we definitely saw some areas that could be changed to create a more flawless picture, but I definitely thought that the individual stats that we received, so stats on serve percentage, aces, how often you're ace, that sort of stuff, sounded really accurate. So that's where the MVP awards that we're going to talk about later is going to come from, those individual stats. Anything you want to add, Jordi?
Yeah, I think one factor that doesn't come into play, and like you sort of mentioned it earlier, is that the round doesn't, so like the tracker, it seems like it compares the 4 players inside the game, but it's hard to compare those 4 players to other games depending on that game. So the RPR, like the Roundnet player ranking that it comes up with, it seems more so for that game instead of another. For example, like finals is usually the hardest game, so your stats are going to be much lower. You're going to have less aces and so on. And so sometimes from a semis game, you'll get or a 3rd and 4th place game, you'll get higher stats because it's not meant to be as hard as the final. And so that's kind of where we are trying to figure out how to maybe put in a multiplier, a strength multiplier, to take into account that. But yeah, we're just trying to figure out how to get more stats out there, how to analyze play, get more around it.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, so if you're looking at this, I would just read RPR based the top 10. That didn't make any sense. I'll just read the top 10 based on the RPR. So what we had was Olivia at 1, Alli 2, KRISTA 3, Ashley 4, Jordi 5, Annelise 6, FREDE 7, BECCA 8, Nancy 9, TORI 10. And I think one of the first things I noticed about that is Beck, 4-time consecutive national champion, is number 8. Like, what? But I think that's kind of what we're getting at right now, is it's not a complete picture, but it is a good picture of the individual traits inside of Roundnet, the individual skills, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jordi, anything else you want to say before going into the MVP awards and focusing more on the traits?
Yeah, I think I just want to mention kind of that we put in the player tourney tab. If you want to look at players compared to each other in each game, you can see which games people were in or which tournaments people went to. And so that'll help a lot too. But yeah, I think this is awesome that like you can see your percentage. Like for me, it helped me and made me understand, okay, I get ace quite a bit. I need to work on that. So I think it's cool too, just as like something that should motivate the women's players as well.
Yeah, totally agree. This, honestly, taking stats, it like, I don't know, I just found it, one, fascinating, but then like I definitely saw a change in even the way I was playing in pickup after starting to take stats like this. Because instead of just thinking of the game as a whole, I was thinking more about like, okay, I know my setting percentage is not great, so I'm going to set better. And even in pickup, it just made a huge difference. So strongly encourage top 10 players to take a look at this. We included some others who played in bracket games in tournaments as well. Yeah. On to MVP.
And actually, we forgot to mention, we included the games that had based on the SRA votes on Facebook, the top 10 players. So, for example, if I were to play in a tournament by myself where the strength isn't as powerful at that tournament, those stats wouldn't count for me. Just to try to make it as accurate as we could.
Yeah.
So that's how we chose which games to go over. And then we did semis or higher and then included nationals quarters.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good note. There's a question. The Mangoon, could be any Mangoon, says, do each of you have a women's player that you feel more clutch against / more comfortable playing against? That's interesting.
I think I feel really clutch with BECCA. Like,
Ooh, like
I
BECCA
just
on your
know that
team.
yeah, on my team. Like, if I'm playing with BECCA, I know she's there and, like, she's going to be focused. She's going to play her best. Like, I'm never worried that she's just going to, like, somehow, like, lose her mind or something and get confused or whatever. Like, she's always there. Her mindset's crazy. And so she always, like, out of nowhere, they'll be like, oh, boom, ace. And it's right when we need it, you know?
Yeah,
So I would say BECCA for clutch.
that's got to be the answer. We've both played with Beck, and it's just unreal. Like, I don't know. I played with her for 3 years, and like I would feel shaky. I would feel nervous at nationals, and just look over, and Beck's just like ready to ace, and then she does. I don't know. Beck is just like
Yeah,
she just knows how to do it when she needs to.
she
So
does.
it's got to go to Beck. Okay.
What was the other question?
I don't see another question.
Perfect.
All right, let's move on to MVP awards. So, like I said, these came from the like individual stats, I guess, not player wise, skill set wise. So we have to start off with the best server. So I think this is probably the least surprising statistic of the day. Pulling through with the best server, we have OLIVIA JENKINS. Yeah, you
Pretty
just
obvious one there.
what do you say about it? If you've seen her highlight videos, you know nobody really wants to be receiving
No.
a serve from OLIVIA. So yeah, that speaks for women's and co-ed, I think. She just
And yeah, and then we took it from serve percentage and then amount of aces.
yeah. So that is one thing that's really interesting from the stats. The three servers with the most aces were, I think, in order, OLIVIA, then FREDE, then Jordi. And those are also the three servers with the worst serve percentage. So they get their serves on the least, but their serves are also by far the most lethal. Super interesting. Yeah. And I'd be curious to see if the men's stats fall that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Next, best serve returner.
Next one. Yep.
Yeah.
Best serve returner.
This was super
And that
interesting. An exact tie between one team. Bobati pulling through. TORI and OLIVIA. Both,
yep.
they averaged just over half of an ace against them per game.
Mm-hmm.
And down to well, they both averaged 0.57. No, sorry, 0.571
Yeah.
aces against themselves. Like that, I don't know, that's just crazy that it's the exact same and they're on the same team.
One distinct memory I have of playing against Tori is one time I served like the most random serve. I accidentally got like this crazy angle because I missed it on my hand. And she, out of nowhere, like it was like an obvious, like it looked like it was going, no one suspected it. And then all of a sudden, bam, Tori reaches out and gets this crazy up.
Unreal.
It's crazy.
She's also like kind of tiny too. I don't know what her height is, but like with how wide people are serving now, it just doesn't hurt to worry.
I know.
Yeah. Anyway.
And I think it helps them a lot too with when someone gets an up, like OLIVIA or Tori, they're going to go bail them out. Yeah. They're going to run down whatever ball it is if they get it up.
Yeah.
So that helps a lot too with serve return.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a hustling team. All right. Next, best hitter. This one surprised me so much, but I love it. Pulling through with best hitter, we have Nancy from Canada, which.
And this doesn't surprise me.
No. I guess you play against her more since you're living there.
Yeah, she puts away any ball that's over the middle. Like, there's no chance. She just has a way with placing it.
Man, she's definitely one of those rally killers. Mm-hmm. You know, you have the people who sky the ball. You have the people who sky the ball, and then there are rallies for days. But Nancy, she hits like, oh man, a solid 1 inch above the rim, and it doesn't go higher.
And it's usually around the net too.
Yeah.
It's not like she's hitting crazy far or hard or anything. It's just placement. She knows where to put it.
She's unreal.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Best defender. Annelise Rohr. You'll love to see it. It has to go to either KRISTA or Annelise.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it doesn't have to. There are other good defenders in the game, but I would have been surprised if it didn't go to one of them. And yeah, Annelise is a baller.
And it makes sense why they're your favorite to play. What you
Yeah,
want to
for the
grow is
rally.
defense, and they have it.
Yeah, so good. Annelise, I think I told her this at Co-Ed Nationals 2018, maybe. I feel like she was the first female player to step in the scene and play with like just absolute confidence, I think. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if she was in the vicinity of touching a ball, she did on defense, which I feel like a lot of girls are still like, I don't know, their confidence just isn't quite at the level that they can like push for that extra touch when you're like almost there. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
you can just, I feel like I see confidence in Annelise's defense, and that's probably why she's the best.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, best setter. I have nothing to say about this. That's my teammate.
Ashley Showalter.
Let's go. Yeah, not surprising to me. It's easy to hit the ball when I play with Ashley, and I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, even watching through the videos and playing against her, it's crazy to see how consistent she is with her sets. They're always near the net, and it doesn't matter how far off the net it is, the passes, she brings it back.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree.
Pretty cool.
I think she does have room to improve on like the in rally long distance sets. Honestly, I think we all do. But when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to a set that's fairly close to the net, her errors are so like she has so few setting errors. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, she just hits it over the net consistently, which is amazing. All I can ask for as a hitter.
It's all we can ask. Everyone can ask for.
Yeah, definitely an underrated trait, I think. But
Uh-huh.
yeah. Okay, toughest to break. It's me.
Hey.
This stat is a little bit weird. It's like a package deal. So toughest to break is different from best hitter, which Nancy got, because toughest to break takes into account like the serve receive, then the setter as well, and then the likelihood you are to put the ball away. So that's where this stat is coming from. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna point it at Ashley's sets. I think those things go hand in hand. I don't think I would have this stat without Ashley's. But yeah,
I think you'd have it with BECCA too.
Beck's a legend. I agree. Because Beck can just she can hang. All right. Best hustle player. So
So the
yeah, you go.
next awards we decided to give out based on what we were thinking after watching so many videos. I mean, like days worth of film. And so we felt that since we've seen them all now, all the games ever, we would give out some awards that came from the two of us.
Yeah. So the ones prior to this were like strictly data based, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then from here on forward, these are opinion based from Jordi and I. But still, I would like to say accurate. So hustle player goes to Fred, which Jordi, you have more experience playing with Fred.
Yeah, I think that Fred, what's awesome about her is she never gives up on the ball. Like no matter where the set, wherever the pass is off to a receive or wherever the pass is off a hit, like she's gonna run it down and she's gonna get hurt doing it. She never gives up. And in addition to that, she's always pushing herself to get better. Like I've never seen someone want to be better more than her. There's a lot of people out there, but she's trying all the time.
Well, that's a recipe for a really, really, really nasty player in a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of time. All right. Next up, clutch player. This, I feel like, goes hand in hand with the no surprise of Olivia being the best server. There's only one answer for the most clutch player. Coming through, BECCA Graham. Yeah.
BECCA Graham.
Yeah. I honestly feel like we've already talked her up enough. We don't have to explain. She's just so solid. Yeah. If you ever have the chance to play with Beck, take it. Next up. What'd you say?
I said, or get in line.
Or get in line. That's true. Probably a long line. Quickest player. Let's go, Jordi.
Hey.
Yeah. This is something that I definitely saw watching footage. And kind of like what you're saying about Fred, even if the ball is just like launched, you see Jordi and her little legs just like little legs, but you're freaking fast. Yeah, and we talked about this, maybe reactions as well. Super fast hands, super fast. Just super fast. Yeah. All right. Next up, hardest hitter, KRISTA SHROCK. Yeah. How did you feel playing defense against KRISTA?
I think for the most part, I felt like I had to be further off the net. Like I knew she was going to hit hard, and like in order to cover it, it was difficult because she also was smart. Like she also knew how to place it. So for BECCA and I to cover her, it was almost like one had to be somewhat short, but not too short, because then we're going to get destroyed. And then one had to be longer. But definitely noticed that her hits were very hard.
Super hard. And I think the differentiation, well, I also think Olivia hits super hard. But I think the differentiation between KRISTA and Olivia is KRISTA rips the ball low and hard. Like 3 feet off the ground type hits. Olivia hits high often. Yeah, KRISTA just rips the ball so low, so hard.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Goals. All right, and finally, tribute to TORI FARLOW, always on the ground. TORI already got their return. Most likely to be on the ground.
We just had to give that out.
Yeah, so good. But yeah.
We had to give it to you, TORI.
Honestly, true though. Like when you do good stuff, when TORI does good stuff, she's on the ground. When she does bad stuff, she's on the ground. So much fun to watch.
Yeah, we made up that award because we felt like you needed to have that.
Very deserving. Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts based on MVP awards, RPR stats? Anything in that realm?
I think that's all.
Sick. All right. So the rest of our stream, we are going to talk a bit about women's Roundnet worldwide, and then touch on talking more about BECCA Graham and what it takes to win, and then we're going to finish it out with some more Q&A. So first, women's Roundnet worldwide. Jordi, you
go. So USA, a lot of people know those players already.
Yeah.
And there's the awesome part is there's a good niche of players in almost every region. Like especially West Coast, it's one of the tournaments that there's almost always a women's division because of the locals. Now I wish we could get more of them out to the rest of the tournaments. People like Hannah Coyle. There's so many. Kayla Wu, Kaylin. There's so many players that are in the West Coast. Ronnie, like it'd be awesome if we could see them at the rest of the tournaments. But a lot of times they go to all the tournaments in the West Coast, which is awesome. And so I think those players, they're developing very well, and they have people to teach them because the West Coast is so strong with the men's players as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. One of the things, well, there are a lot of things that are a super big bummer about COVID-19, but one of them, Roundnet related, is that the Atlanta Tour Stop was going to be the first ever women's division in the Southeast. Atlanta Tour Stop 2020. Didn't happen. Super sad about it, but that's just like kind of a crazy fact right now, knowing that Olivia Jenkins, Alli Jenkins, Allie Foster, Katie Pearson, I don't know. There's just so many strong women's players that are in the Southeast right now. So crazy to think that there hasn't even been a women's division in the Southeast, other than, I think, Nationals 2015 in Nashville, if you will consider that Southeast. Solely Southeast. That's Nationals. But yeah, US is strong.
Yeah.
We know that because we're in the US. But yeah, I'm stoked to see what happens outside the US.
I think one thing that I noticed too is in the Southeast, there's a lot of young players. So they're not going to drive however many hours to go to the local tournament or whatever it is in that region. There's so many people up and coming, like Katie Pearson, like you mentioned earlier, P's teammate, Laura Dawn. Like there's so many people up and coming that are so young.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what's hard.
Yeah. Trip Pearson sent us this. How many people were on the list? 10
12.
different.
The dirty dozen.
The dirty dozen of women's Roundnet players from the Southeast. And I hadn't heard of quite a few of them. So yeah, Southeast is strong right now. I think they look good for the future. Yeah. So what about Canada?
Yeah, Canada. Canada has some strong women's players. I think the thing that I notice the most between the US and Canada is that Canada, they're very well-rounded. Like everyone is pretty good. And then in the US, there's a handful that are amazing. And that's kind of the difference that I've noticed is that in Canada, like everyone is really good at everything. So like setting, hitting, passing, serve return, serving, all those things, they're really good at it, but there's not one thing that kind of makes them at the same level, of course, besides the overkill. They overkill with Nancy and Fred. They're at the level. I would say they're at the level for sure. But as far as an overall, that's kind of where the US has Canada beat in that sense. But Canada has the US beat in that they're so consistent and they're so well-rounded. You have people like Mary, Pam, Sarah. There's some new players here in Quebec City that are just growing and getting better. Like it's amazing. It's pretty cool to see.
Dang. So why do you think, I'm trying to form a question here. You're saying that there are lots of players that are really good in Canada. Why?
I think they play all the time.
Yeah.
Like the community here, they're so close in location that they're able to play more often. And then people like Mary and Alex. Alex was on I don't know how to say it in French. Les Ratons, I think, maybe. Okay. And so they put together leagues where you play Spikeball Roundnet every Monday or every Tuesday all winter long. And so they're constantly playing with each other and growing. And so you have that in Quebec City. And then you also have Simon Brisboe on Strong Flush in Montreal who's putting on leagues. And so I think that's something that the US, we have it, but it's hard because there's not as big of a community in a smaller location. Like we're so spread out throughout the US that it's hard for us to play as much as they do in Canada.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's Kayla and Ian. I know they're somewhere in Canada. Have you met them?
They're in Ontario.
Okay, Ontario.
Yeah, they're amazing.
They're so great. And they host so many tournaments. I don't actually know what the women's scene is like around them, but I mean, it's bound to grow with Kayla as a leader there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, so I've been thinking a bit about Europe. So I had the chance of going to the European Championships in 2019, which was so cool. I think the coolest piece of it is that there were, I don't actually know the number, but somewhere over 100 teams playing in co-ed, which means that's more than 100 girls playing. And we just don't see numbers like that in the US. But yeah, Europe, I was also talking to Tom, my husband, about about girls in Europe, women's Roundnet in Europe, and the top countries that we agreed on were definitely Germany, Czech Republic. Germany, I don't really know individual players, but they're strong. And if anybody has seen tournaments they're hosting, you can just see that the girls are athletes, absolute athletes. So yeah, I think Germany has high hopes, and they should. They deserve it. And then Czech Republic, you have Gabby, and I know she has a pretty solid teammate. And then you have Ruth in the UK. I've already talked about Ruth. She's just, I don't know. She's just so strong. She's a great player. Yeah. So as far as Europe goes, I think those are the strong ones. But yeah, I think I was really, really excited. I know I was really, really excited for Worlds to see what countries would show up, what countries would be strong enough to have a squad. Yeah, I guess it could still happen. Want to be hopeful, but yeah, I don't know. 2 hands. Really hoping. But yeah, women's Roundnet worldwide, definitely. I don't know, it's kind of uncharted territory right now. We have stats on the US, but outside of the US, it's open territory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on women's Roundnet worldwide? Or are you ready to move on?
I think I'm good.
Oh, Spikeball. I don't know who's running the account, but Spikeball just asked, what country do y'all want to play at Worlds?
Oof. I think for me, I really want to play the UK because I really want to play Ruth. I didn't have the chance to play her in Nationals 2018.
Yeah.
And anyone that went there, like, she made such a big impression that it was talked about for a while, and even still is. Who is this girl from the UK? She's amazing.
Yeah.
And so I think I really want to play her since I didn't get the chance to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd be really excited to play Germany because I'm definitely excited to play Ruth, a little bit scared and excited, but she doesn't, I don't think she has a teammate set up yet. So I'm not sure
Okay.
her team would be as strong as a team from Germany. And Germany won the Women's European Championship last year. So,
Wow.
yeah, they might have the strongest team coming into Worlds from Europe. So, yeah, I'd be really excited. I also just think, based off of social media and not super reliable sources, I think that they play a lot in Germany. I hope that they play a
Cool.
lot. And so I think they could come out really strong.
Yeah, Roundnet Chris just said, keep the name Julia in mind. She's killing it.
Julia.
Go, Julia.
All right, Julia. Keep it up. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else before we move on?
Someone asked about college women's. Do you have any knowledge on that?
I saw that and I just kind of passed because I really don't. Do you?
Nope, no clue.
Yeah.
I don't think we have a college women's division though. Like, I think
No.
if you play Roundnet for a college division, like, you have to play in the men's or the open division.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we would figure that out either.
They may have been shooting for a women's division at college nationals this past year. I wouldn't have been surprised if they were. But we're
Okay.
already kind of struggling for numbers without like consolidating to just including collegiate players. So once
Yeah.
we hit just that demographic, I think we'd really struggle for numbers, but I might be wrong. I really don't know much
Yeah.
about the collegiate scene.
I do think it's key to getting women's players out there though.
I agree. We need to do it, which I think we're going to be talking a little bit later on how to
Cool.
get more women's players in the game. All right. Okay. What it takes to win and why BECCA Graham doesn't lose. This is the next topic. So, yeah, Jordi, what do you think the most important skill set like not anything to do with mental, just physical skill set in Roundnet is that a player needs in order to win?
Ooh, that's tough.
I
Um,
agree.
I think a lot of times it comes down to consistency.
Yeah.
We have a lot of players that are amazing at serving or amazing at hitting, but it's inconsistent. So they're only amazing like a tenth out of the time that they serve, right? And so I think in order to be the best out of already, like in order to be number one out of the best, I think it comes down to consistency.
Yeah, I totally
What do you
agree.
think?
Yeah, I think consistency trumps it all. It kind of seems like a cop-out answer because it's like essentially you're saying all of the things. You have to be good at all of the things and be good at them all of the time. That's what consistency is. But yeah, I think Beck has kind of like tested out that hypothesis for us, that consistency is what it takes to win. That's been like the thing that she's preached for her career, and she's also won the most. So yeah, I think she's kind of proof that consistency does win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So aside from consistency,
Yeah.
what's the second most important quality
Whew.
or skill?
Um, yeah. If if we break into the head game realm, I think once you get there, that stuff is even more important than, I don't know, like hard skills like hitting, setting, serving. That's a bold statement, but like, um, I don't know. I was just talking to Beck about this the other day, and her answer was level headedness. And I thought that was a really good answer because in order to win, especially to win a tournament or to win nationals, you have to be able to like get ready to receive a serve without panicking, without doubting that you're going to put the ball away, without thinking that you might get a bad touch, without fearing the person across from you. Like you just have to be ready to win. And I think that all comes down to level headedness. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the mindset is so important. I think knowing what you want and going out there and doing it, and then not only that, but not getting in your own head. I think that's something that a lot of times women's Roundnet struggles with is that when we make a mistake, we think about that mistake over and over again instead of letting it go or improving off of the mistake. So I think that's kind of the same thing that you said of just keeping a level head.
Yeah, it's huge and definitely not represented in the RPR that we were talking about earlier. But it's just, yeah. And it's not a flashy thing either. That's the thing. Sometimes I think a lot of us get caught up in the like flashiness of having a cut serve or having a sick lefty serve or something like that. But when it comes down to it, we're talking about level headedness, not serving. So, yeah, I don't know.
I think that even comes into play of the practice of getting better serves or of mastering a hit or getting better at setting. It's the mindset of that, of figuring out, okay, I need to do this better, so how do I do it? And staying focused instead of getting frustrated or giving up on it. I think that goes along with the same lines of having a good mindset, not only in the game, but in practice as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think so for the past 4 years, maybe, I think the women at the top of women's Roundnet have been able to stay there without giving it their all. And I think we're finally hitting a point where practice is going to be the determining factor. So, yeah, I'm super excited for the next 2 years, maybe, to see which players actually have the grind mentality, I guess, of just like I'm willing to just work my butt off to get this done so that I can play well, that sort of thing. And I think some players are gonna kind of be weeded out because they just don't have that grind. I don't know.
Or the time.
Or the time. That's true. They might be working hard at something else. Don't want to discredit that. Yeah. Yeah, what about team chemistry? How would you rate that in importance?
It's hard to say. I think team chemistry isn't necessarily important at the top, except for defense.
Yeah.
Because there's such an ideal pass, an ideal set, an ideal hit that's kind of what's expected at the top. And if you're at the top, then you know what it is and you understand it. But I think in terms of team chemistry, it's more important on defense, figuring out where your teammate is or like where to cover. But in terms of offense, I don't think it's as important because it's a pass, a set, a hit for every top player is usually over the net.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think team chemistry isn't necessarily as important in the top.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say?
Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate. It's definitely, I think it's the most important in defense, which unfortunately right now is probably not the most important thing to be the best at, I guess. Like, I don't know. Defense is just, it doesn't happen as often as we want it to. So, yeah, I'm not entirely sure how to explain it, but I think a team with two really strong players who don't have team chemistry would still be stronger than two players who aren't as strong but do have really good team chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't want to discredit defense. I think defense
Yeah.
is awesome. I think it needs to happen. And I think like good for the people that are really good at defense. Like it gets points, but you also have to be able to put away the ball after
Yeah.
you get the defensive ups. And so a lot of times that's why defense isn't as successful because you also have the set and the hit after you get a defensive get. So I think that's kind of why it would almost be more important to hit because you should put away the ball every time with an ideal set.
Mm. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. Um, yeah. What are your thoughts on why Beck has won the past 4 years, especially now that you've played with her for a year?
Yeah. I think we mentioned a few of those things earlier of the mindset. Like she's always there, she's focused and she's clutch. But
Yeah.
also she's played so long and has continued to improve. Like she doesn't ever get stuck or she's not content at being where she is. She's always looking for ways to be better at serving, be better at defense, be better at whatever it is. And she has such an open mind to looking at alternatives or changing her style that she already has of whatever it is. Like I remember going into the season thinking, okay, like BECCA, she knows what to do. She has like all these answers. But the cool part is that she does, but she also wants to hear everyone else's input, which I think is a huge reason why she grows and continues to get better all the time.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah. I think one of the things that I definitely noticed from taking all the stats that we did on the RPR was that I think Beck was relatively low because she never had the highs like a bunch of other players did.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a pretty good testimony to Beck is just Beck. She plays and she plays the same pretty much every time.
Mm-hmm.
And that ended up pulling out wins for her. Rather, other players who had higher RPRs didn't get the wins, the clutch wins. So I think that's one of the things that Beck has is when she shows up at a tournament, she performs very similarly results wise every single time. She puts her serves on, she puts her hits away, and she creates errors. And she does those things really well.
Yeah. And I think also, I didn't mention earlier, but she puts in the work. Like, I remember before nationals, like, she came out with like crazy serves at nationals. Like, she's like, oh, yeah, so I just decided that I was going to practice an hour a day or whatever it was on her serves. And then she comes out at nationals and just starts acing people left and right. Like, she puts in the work, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And she did that by herself. It's not like she had 3 people to play with. She had Joel, but I don't know. Even that isn't the same as 4 people playing Roundnet. I think it takes more mental strength to get out there with one person or get out there by yourself and practice than it does to go out and play with 3 other people. So, yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it for everything that we had planned to talk about. Do you want to move on to Q&As?
Yeah, should we bring out our special guests?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Or should we wait until people ask them questions?
I say, like, just bring them out so they're here.
Let's do it.
And then we can pass off questions, or if someone asks them questions, then boom.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
So my special guest is the Becca Graham. She doesn't know it, but I think she's watching the stream. And she's also in the building. So Beck, if you can report to
Fred.
the laundry room.
Fred, CRETE.
So,
you here?
Fun fact about our stream. I'm currently living at the Stonewall Jackson Inn, which Beck and Joel own, and currently recording from their laundry room. What's up, Beck? So you won't actually be able to hear. This is going to be a little bit weird because Beck won't be able to hear, but if you have any questions for her, I'm just going to pass the headphones. What's up, Fred? Okay, so if you guys have any questions for Beck or for Fred, please ask away. It's kind of cool that we have 4 of the top 10 women's players right here, so we figured we'd take advantage.
Yeah, so Alli, you and I can start with the questions we already got on Instagram until we get some more on the chat.
Yeah.
So one of the first questions, this is by Jackie Yu on Doctor's Orders. What has been most successful in growing the women's Roundnet scene, and how can I get girls to compete in tournaments?
Okay, should we start with what has been most successful in growing the women's Roundnet scene?
Yeah, if you want to take that.
Yeah, Beck's going to take it. It's for you, Beck.
I don't know that I need these. I'm not listening.
The mic is on them.
Gotcha. Question from Jackie Yu. What has been most successful in growing the women's Roundnet scene? That is a great question. To be completely honest, I feel like we haven't had a whole lot of success. We've definitely had some, but Alli and I have both been around for a long time and have both been trying really hard for the past 5 years to grow the women's Roundnet scene. And there have been a lot of times where it's felt stagnant. I was reading some of the comments when I was watching the stream and saw a couple people asking similar questions, how to grow the women's Roundnet scene. And, you know, they play with girls that are willing to play recreationally, but aren't willing to compete in tournaments. And I think that's the biggest struggle a lot of times is it can be really intimidating for a girl to play with her guy friends casually, but they usually are hesitant to want to walk up to a tournament and start competing. Because we're so new as a sport, you kind of have to jump right into the tournament scene, which I feel like isn't normal for sports. Normally you kind of grow up playing a sport and then you gradually start competing and as you get better, whereas Roundnet, you kind of just have to start competing right away. But anyways, to answer the question, most successful in growing the women's Roundnet scene, I think co-ed has been a huge benefit to that, just bringing girls into tournament play, but allowing them to play with a guy that can help carry the team until they get comfortable with it. I think that's been a huge step in the right direction. And then just other girls pushing the sport and bringing friends to tournaments, and you know, girls recruiting girls oftentimes is a lot less intimidating than a girl trying to play with all her guy friends and then walking up to a tournament by herself. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think BECCA hit the nail on the head with that one. Is that the saying?
Yes.
I think she got it covered. All right, next one. We got a question from Smashton. Do you practice every day or do you practice 3 to 4 times a week? I think we'll have Fred answer that one.
I need to wear that.
He has the mic on this one.
Okay, nice. Well, I would say that right now we're practicing like every 2 days, but it helps when you live with someone. So we're pretty lucky. But during the summer in Canada, we play at least twice a week. And just like Jordi was saying earlier, we also have leagues, so that helps a lot. So for me, I would say, yeah, like 3-4 times a week, like less, but just to touch, like to practice a little bit, like do different type of drills, it really helps for sure.
Nice. We have another question from Katie Pearson. She said, I'm working on some new serves, but would like to know about how many serves do you guys use in tournaments? Which I think we can all answer that question. That's a really great question. So like how many serves do we use in our variety, in our toolbox?
Okay.
2019, yeah. I think I had 2 serves. I had a cut serve, and then I had a weaker cut serve. That was my put on serve. So if I missed my first serve, which was when I was going for my hard cut serve, then I would go for a weaker, more put on serve. I think that's the wrong answer. I think you should at least have that and then a drop serve. But yeah, I think it's pretty important to me to limit my number of serves so that I know that I at least have one that I feel really comfortable getting on. And then I can play the game I love versus being upset about missing serves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think variety is only as important as the consistency of your serves. Like if you only have one serve and it's super consistent, then move to a next one. But if you have, say, 20 serves and none of them are consistent, it's hard to trick your opponent or to have those as an advantage if you can't put it on the net. So I think having variety is very important if you're able to put it on the net. So yeah, I think ideally you would have a left serve, a right serve, and then a drop for each, plus a jam.
So is that 5?
So basically as many serves as you can.
Well,
I didn't hear any of Jordi and Fred's answers, but how many serves? I would say I probably have about 5 at a time, 4 or 5 that I try to, with 1 or 2 being the most consistent. So kind of like what Alli said, I have a couple that are my more risky, but if I land them, more likely to ace serves. And then second serve, I usually go to a more consistent serve that I'm comfortable with. If I'm feeling off in a game, I usually stick to 1 serve for the whole game. So it just kind of depends, but I usually have 4 or 5 that I'm trying to perfect at one time.
My turn. All right, we have a question from my sister.
ooh.
Shout out. She says, does playing surface have anything to do with how you prepare for the tournament? Grass or sand? This is a good question for the 3 of you.
Okay. Fred, would you want to answer this question?
Well, I would say that we don't have. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I need to wear that. So in Canada, we have a lot of snow and not a lot of sand. So I would say that we mostly play like in gym or on the grass. When I was playing with Nancy, she was really good at moving in the sand because she used to be a beach volleyball player. and I was terrible at that. I didn't know how to move. So yeah, I would say that we have to get prepared for like the different surface, but you also have like to acknowledge where you live. Like for Jordi, who lived in California, it will be much more easy. So yeah, there is something to do with that for sure.
Yeah. I think I remember before 2018 Nationals, which was on sand in Santa Monica. I think I played on sand a couple times, but I think in general, practice is just good. So if you don't have the ability to go to the surface that you're going to compete on, don't worry, just get the practice in. I think it's still better to hit serves in your backyard on the wrong surface rather than not hit serves at all. Yeah. We have another question from Jackie Yu. She was talking about being in Las Vegas and how she can't seem to find women who want to play. So she said, should I lower the level of play when I'm playing with new female players? Which that's a really interesting question. Jordi, I want to nominate you because I think you're really good at playing with new players.
I think it depends. Like it really depends on the person that you're playing with. Like do they want to be like pushed? And yeah, most people want to. So I would say don't ace them. Like don't ace them as much. You want to play Roundnet, right? But I wouldn't say put away the ball every time. Like for me, when I play with new people, I want them to fall in love with the sport. I don't want them to be frustrated that better players are hitting around them or they can't touch the ball. Playing Roundnet is fun because you're able to pass the ball, you're able to hit the ball, you're able to serve the ball. So when you can't touch the ball, it's very frustrating. So I think pushing the player as far as they can go is kind of the key to what I've been doing with friends that are starting to get into Roundnet and start playing, is push them as they grow. So always play a little bit better so that way they have a step up to go, or kind of push them. Sorry, I don't know if that made sense. I was kind of going back and forth. But yeah, I think it's more fun when you're able to have rallies, right? That's what we love about Roundnet. And so not putting away the ball every time, I think, is important. That's my thought.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thought. I have another question. So we've all been playing for quite a few years. And I think there are a lot of women out there who go to a couple tournaments and then ditch it. So what do you think is the reason why you kept coming back to Roundnet and now have been playing Roundnet for quite a few years?
Me?
All three of you.
Yeah, I think I just love games. I love sports. And like as soon as you get clicked in with the community, or as soon as you get connected with them, like you don't want to stop going. I think that's kind of what's kept me. And I also love the competition opportunities that Roundnet and Spikeball as a company has for us. So I think that's kind of what's kept me coming back.
Yeah, I think I echo what Jordi said. Community is a huge thing. That's super addicting. Once you meet people, get to know people, yeah, there's nothing like your first tournament where people know who you are, and it's such a good feeling to feel like you're part of something. Other thing for me that was major was I learned about Spikeball right after I graduated from high school. So just immediately filled the void of competitive sports, which, yeah, I was a 3-sport athlete in high school and needed something to take the place of that. And getting into the tournament scene really, yeah, it's just awesome being able to compete at something. And now after college, still having something to work at. I'm huge on improvement. I like working hard to get better at things, and being able to see such continual improvement, especially in the women's side of Roundnet, has been really fun. Just, seeing people get better and watching people improve and learn new things about the game. So all of those things combined, the best friends through Roundnet, Joel's another big reason why I've stayed involved. But yeah, lots of good reasons.
Okay, Fred, have you answered yet?
It's mine. Well, Becca said mostly everything I wanted to say, but like for us, it's really the community. Like in Canada, just like Jordi said, we're all really close to each other. So the people I play with, like they're my friends. Some of them I work with. So that's really nice. That's really cool. And the other thing is that when you're done with your sport, like I used to play rugby at my university, and then when you finish like your year, it's nice to find another sport in which you can improve and compete, just like you said, Becca. So for me, that was like one of the best things.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Nancy is my dream. I want to be Nancy. Yeah,
good example.
She's so awesome. Definitely older, but just like she's still active. She's still having so much fun, and yeah, I think like Beck said, once you're done with high school, and then especially if you're a college athlete, once you're done with college, you lose that outlet, and I think sports is just a healthy thing. You meet friends, you meet people all around. It's such a good thing. But yeah, I think the spikeball community is one of a kind. Once you go to tournaments and once you meet people, they just are really warm, really friendly, and yeah, spikeball community is like the source of my best friends now. And yeah, so now it's sports and friends. Like, what else could you want? Food, I guess. Yeah.
Did you say food?
I did say food. I really like food. Yeah. Trip asked how many teams would you guess will be at the women's qualifier in Raleigh? I have no idea.
I think.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah. Well, obviously the top three in the US, 3 teams in the US that aren't competing. The top 3 in the US besides Becca and I. So them, and then I gotta say there's gonna be at least 4 more teams that will try to take the 3 spots.
Yeah. I think in order to play in the qualifiers, you have to like verbally commit to going to Worlds. Like say that you can financially and you have the time and all that stuff. So I think that would cut down on teams that would have played. But yes, I'd say probably I'd be surprised, very surprised if there are more than 10 teams. Also very happy, elated. That would be a dream come true. But yeah, probably more like 7, I think is a good number.
Yeah.
Trip, tell us if we're wrong.
All right, another question. The Mangoon. Who is the Mangoon, by the way?
Reveal yourself.
Is it Josh?
I don't know.
Anyways, who is the most underrated / overlooked women's Roundnet player in your opinions?
Someone just asked who's the most underrated or overlooked women's Roundnet player in your opinions. Nancy?
Becca. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jordi said you.
I was going to have Becca answer.
I was like,
Becca's super underrated.
She didn't mean you. She was asking for your
Becca's
answer.
like, good, because I'm going to beat her up.
Do you have an answer?
No.
Beck doesn't have an answer.
I feel like, yeah. I think there are a lot that if they played a little bit more often, they would be like underrated, but right now they're unknown. That's kind of like, yeah, there are a lot of women's players that have come out like once or twice or a couple times and showed so much potential, but they haven't even played enough to be underrated because they're not really like in the tournament scene. And I don't even know if I would know them by name. I just know there have been tournaments where I see a girl I've never seen before and can tell that she has huge potential, but you know, they don't end up competing a whole lot. Or as far as in the game right now, I think KRISTA, I would say, pretty underrated. I've always felt like she's a super strong player, strong hitter, and strong player all around. She's been around the game for a long time. She has great technical skills. Yeah, I think that would be my pick of probably who's the most underrated, at least near the top, in the top players.
Fred, do you have an answer for maybe Canada players or even in the US?
It's hard for me to say because there's not a lot of women who travel from Canada to go play with you guys. Like Alli, you said Nancy earlier, but in Canada, Nancy, she's like the beast, you know? Like she's so good and everyone knows it. Like she's amazing. But yeah, there's like Sarah. I don't know if you probably know Sarah. She was actually in the video, but Sarah, she's super good. Like she knows how to play Roundnet, and this year I think they did pretty good at nationals, and she's actually traveling a little bit. But I think that Sarah, yeah, like we should pay more attention to her. Like she's really, really good.
And anyone that you think that's in Canada, and if they went to the US, would really give the top teams a challenge.
Yeah, for sure. Like actually for a world qualifier this year, I played with Pam, and Pam, like she never been to the US, but she has a crazy serve, like crazy. You were talking about like strong hits. She really is something. Oh yeah, Alli, you played her in Montreal. Yeah,
I was super impressed.
Yeah, she's really, really good, and she plays with Mary in Canada, but she never competed like with you guys. So we hope to go to Worlds to show you that.
Yeah, we hope so too.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot the question. Underrated women? Yeah, I think we answered that one. Okay.
We got a couple more.
Yeah. Can you go to a tournament and be randomly matched up with a partner? No. You have to sign up ahead of time. Yeah, that would be fun. But no,
we should play a hat tournament.
Oh, we need to do another women's hat tournament that I can go to this time. But yeah, so you can sign up for tournaments at tournaments.spikeball.com, or there are lots of people who host their own tournaments. And I think you can find those on the Spikeball app. But yeah, I think all tournaments you have to sign up for ahead of time. Yeah. Tyler Chisek, what are each other's top Roundnet quality?
Let's answer for each other.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, Alli, I'm going for you.
What did you say?
What are we doing?
Answering the question, Tyler's question. Okay, you go for me, Jordi.
All right, so Alli's top quality for Roundnet. I think it's between her spirit, just being there, having fun, like encouraging her teammates and her opponents, and her consistency. I think she's consistent all around, which is similar to BECCA, and is why they did so well as Ogre's heroes, is because they were both so consistent. Like they both have really good hits, they have really good sets, they have really good serves, and I think those two qualities put together, it would be Alli's top quality in Roundnet.
Thanks, Jordi. I'll go for Fred, since I got to play Fred in the semifinals at nationals, and she knocked me out, which was, yeah, sad for me, but also kind of a really great moment to see Fred, you, and Nancy win. But let me think. Fred, I think you definitely surprised me this year, coming out and being really strong on defense. I think that's a new element of your game that I hadn't seen. your defensive strength. So obviously your backhand is disgusting. That's what you're known for, your backhand serve. I won't talk too much about that because everyone knows it. And then, yeah, just defensively, I think you have the natural mindset of knowing where to go. And then because you know where to go, you get a lot of touches. So, yeah. And I think you're also not yet at your prime. I know you're not at your prime yet. So you have a lot of room to grow and you're already really good. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. Wow.
Yeah.
Actually, Alli, I'm working on a new serve now because of you.
Because I cheat
So I have
on
a
your
new
serve.
serve this year, just for you.
For those of you that don't know,
Yeah. I only have one serve.
when Fred played Alli and Ashley at Nationals, she has her one serve that's backhand, her one consistent serve that's backhand. And Alli and Ashley, they took away her strength by cheating by like 3 yards to leg serve. So that's why Fred is coming up with a new serve.
That's not an exaggeration. We did cheat really far. But
Yeah,
you
but
still
that
aced us. So, yeah.
Well, I'll go for Beck.
Okay.
Yeah. So Beck, I have to talk about your strengths.
All of them.
Yeah, all of them. So it's never fun to play against you. That's the biggest thing. You aced me a couple of times this year with those crazy serves that were going like all over the place. But I would say it's the mindset, like your mental is just so strong. Like during the final, you just knew that you were going there and that was your game. Like maybe you had a doubt, but we never saw it. So I think that's a big thing about you. And like I looked at some of the streamage that they did for hours, and you're so consistent. Like everything's there. Like your passes are perfect. Like everything is really good, and that's impressive for a player like me who's so like this. You know? So yeah, I would say that's your strength, your mental and your consistency, like they talked about.
Thanks.
For sure.
Yeah, Jordi might
You're
disagree
crisp.
with you, but
You're crisp,
I
Beck.
might. Jordi, did anybody say anything about Jordi?
No.
Jordi's got some strengths. I think Jordi's one of her biggest Roundnet strengths. Quickness is like your MVP award, super quick, but I think that especially came into play. The thing that stood out to me the most playing this season with you is like your quickness and aggression on defense. So much so that like we had a tough time adjusting to it because there were so many times where Jordi was just there, like she was at the net, she was on the ball, she was getting body touches, touching the ball wherever it was, and I was always out of position because I wasn't expecting her to get a touch. So I was like tracing back and covering behind her, ready to get the ball as it passed her, but she'd throw an arm up or get a body on it. And yeah, you're all over the place, which is so fun to play with you and to watch because you're just like flying around, getting touches on everything. And yeah, team chemistry on defense is important. We learned. No,
We figured it out.
we did. Yeah. I just let you do your thing and I'll give you a pass and you finish it. No, but yeah, you're super quick and aggressive on defense, which is, yeah, so key.
Thanks, Beck. Someone asked, Ken Mid, do you think there will be more Queen of the Court style tourneys?
There should be.
For sure. I think this is also goes hand in hand with getting more women's players out there. A lot of girls, they don't have a teammate that's at their level or that they know of that's near them. And so having these Queen of the Court tournaments available so that way girls that don't have teammates can go out and play. Like they don't need anyone else to sign up. They can just go out there and connect with other women's players.
Yeah, that's the really cool element of Queen of the Court. Yeah, you said it well. you don't need a teammate, you just need to show up. So yeah, I would love to see more of those tournaments around.
And that's actually, I don't know if what Jordi said, but
You're good.
that's a great way for all the people that were asking how to get more girls involved. Host a Queen of the Court tournament. Is that what Jordi said?
Pretty much, but you can keep going.
Yeah, no, that's just like, yeah, just host one, take initiative and do it, and invite all the female friends you have and just tell them there's no pressure. Yeah, it's a great way to get people starting to play in a competitive situation.
Yeah, with different players, like of different skills level. You know, sometimes like they don't get to play with those players, so I think it's really nice for everyone. Even like the better player gets to play with newer players, and like everyone's can learn from that for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. For anybody who doesn't know, Queen of the Court style is like an individual style tournament, so your teammate switches throughout the day, and then the winner is based off of points. So individual points, not team points, which is really cool. Tyler Chiz pulling through with another question. He said, what do you guys want to improve on the most coming into this year?
Fred, you want to take this one?
Everything. I need to work on so many things, but consistency for sure. Like that's something I need to work on. Sets, Alli, you're gonna have to teach me. And so many things.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I think for me, like I want to say everything because I think everything can grow and there's never a standstill point in someone's playing level or skill set. But I think the thing that I want to work on the most or grow the most in this season, if we have it, is I think it's got to be hitting. I think that a ball anywhere near the net should be put away. And I think that's something that I was lacking last year is that when I got an up or whatever it was, like it's very hard for me to put a ball back on the net that's not over the net. So like if the set's a little bit off or the set's further away from the net, it's really hard for me to put it away. And I think that's something that I really want to be able to accomplish this season is to have a higher put away percentage and be able to hit more balls from further off the net.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
I think, I think for me, it's mental strength. I think when I played with Beck, I didn't quite realize how much her mental strength carried mine, I think. And then once I played with Ash, that's just a different dimension. Nothing against Ashley at all. She's a phenomenal player. But I just needed to carry my own mental strength in a different way. So that resulted in, I think, kind of like what I was talking about earlier with serve return, just a lot of questions about my own like play style. Like, am I really a good hitter? Can I really put the ball away if there's a good defender on the other team? Can I ace ever? Like, I don't know. I think there were just more questions last year flying through my head. And yeah, it wasn't until the off season that I really addressed the questions and then had the confidence to be like, okay, yeah, I can ace when I need to. And yes, I can put the ball away, that sort of thing. So I think this year is hopefully going to kind of be like the year of action where now that I've gained more mental strength, I can practice more and then see the actual results come to life. That's the goal. But yeah, with Worlds on the horizon and all the other things that are new with this season, I think, it'll be a challenge, but it'll be a good one. Yeah.
Question is what we want to improve on
most this
season. So I am not playing this season, coming off an injury, so I won't be playing at all. but I will be working a lot on a lot of stationary skills, serves, sets, a lot of that kind of thing. And yeah, I'm just building consistency, always trying to work on that. The more touches I can get, the better. And even if it can't be a game-like scenario, just working on, all the fine skills, things that I can do without moving around a whole lot and playing real games. But yeah.
Cool. And I think we'll end on this last question. John Zook asked, what are our favorite things about the community around the sport?
That's a great question. I think it is a really uplifting community. Uplifting and inclusive all around, which I still would love to see more women in the sport, more all around diversity. But I think it'll happen, and I think it'll be really warmly welcomed because the community is just naturally like, I don't know, the nature of a person who loves a weird, abnormal sport tends to be like consistently a kind, inclusive person.
Mm-hmm.
That obviously isn't true for everyone, but I think it is true for a lot of Spikeball community people.
Awesome.
Yeah. Did you say last question, Jordi?
Yeah, I think it's probably around our last question.
Yeah. I think we've had a good run.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, thanks for tuning in, and